Coal power is still the king, and that is not about to change anytime soon. Donald Trump has just turned net zero into NYET ZERO, in other words, not zero, by announcing his plans to build a heap of brand new coal power plants so that the United States can truly have the cheapest energy on Earth. The only question left is whether we are smart enough to follow suit now, or whether Australia is going to have to suffer for a while longer before we accept the reality. The reality that coal is not the past, it's the future. My name is Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around you. Donald Trump has announced in the clearest possible terms that the USA are back in the coal business. They're not just going to keep their existing coal plants running. Oh no, they are building new ones, and lots of them. We don't have the details yet, but Trump being Trump, you know he's not playing around. This is what President Trump said. After years of being held captive by environmental extremists, lunatics, radicals, and thugs, allowing other countries, in particular China, to gain tremendous economic advantage over us by opening up hundreds of all coal fired power plants, I am authorizing my administration to immediately begin producing energy with beautiful, clean coal. And it makes sense given that Trump has committed himself to giving the USA the cheapest energy in the world. Now, drill baby drill is great, and fracking for gas is cheap. But oil, gas, and coal at the same time, that is a recipe for an energy and economic powerhouse. Not only is coal the cheapest source of energy in the world, it is also one of the most reliable, except, strangely, in Australia, where they keep having mysterious outages because the coal plants aren't being maintained because we've bought into the lie that the age of coal is over. There is a lot that I could say about these relentless outages that we experience on hot days or during the dead of winter. In particular, I do notice that the timing of some of these outages is highly suspect because, due to flaws in the way that the Australian energy market operator works, these outages of coal power plants lead to price spikes, which mean that the energy producers make super profits from all the other energy sources in their portfolio when the coal shuts down, making money from the oh so regrettable, completely unplanned but suspiciously well timed coal power plant failure. But that's a topic for another video in the future if I ever get the time. Back to the present. While the US, China, and India, and loads more countries are all busy building dozens of new coal power plants every year, here in Australia we are shutting down the few coal power plants we have left and making our energy unreliable and unaffordable in an effort to lead the world into a zero emissions future. The trouble is, no one is following our lead. We are saying net zero and they are saying net zero. In fact, the countries that matter are going in the opposite direction to us and they don't notice or care that we are leading them towards net zero. They are marching directly towards the cheapest and most reliable energy that they can get. And who can blame them? Abundant, cheap, and reliable energy is literally the single most important foundation for economic prosperity. If you have energy, then you can have productivity. And if you have productivity, then you can have prosperity. It really is that simple. But the activists object. What about the CO2 emissions? What about them? Even if you do believe that they're a problem, the fact is that what we do isn't going to make a lick of difference, and I can prove it. The combined capacity of all of Australia's remaining coal power plants is a bit over 20 gigawatts. You don't need to know what a gigawatt is, just that all of Australia's remaining coal power plants added up together equal a bit over 20 gigawatts. India currently have about 30 gigawatts of new coal power plants under construction and about another 35 gigawatts planned, with no doubt more to be added to the pipeline in future, because in case you missed it the first time, no one is following us into net zero oblivion, certainly not the Indians, and certainly not the Chinese, who have something close to 400 gigawatt hours of coal power plants either under construction or in planning, again with more to be added to that pipeline in the future. If you do the math, you'll realize that China alone are working on adding 20 times more coal power than we have in total in this country. That's what they're adding. That's just the new stuff. on top of what they've already got. And that's just what's already in the pipeline. This nonsense about how renewables are taking over, it is just nonsense. It is marketing so that they can keep the government gravy train and subsidies rolling in. So-called renewables are increasing as a percentage of generation, but the demand for energy is growing so fast that even with all of that construction of wind and solar worldwide, we are still building new coal, gas, and nuclear power plants faster than ever before. And that's why the renewables lobby love to talk in percentages, because if they talked in actual numbers, their lies would be too obvious. So, whether you believe that CO2 is a threat to mankind or whether you understand physics, no matter which way you go in that debate, you simply cannot seriously pretend that Australia will make a lick of difference to anywhere but Australia. Expensive and increasingly unreliable energy is jacking up the cost of doing business. It's destroying our global competitiveness for exports. It's driving up the cost of living, pushing more and more Australians into energy poverty. All for what? So that a few inner city lefties on outrageous government salaries can feel good about themselves with their expensive solar and batteries, while the rest of us are freezing in winter and sweltering in summer and losing our jobs because the cost of doing business is too high? It's madness. Coal is still king, and it will be for at least the rest of my lifetime, probably a lot longer. And that's not up for debate anymore, given what India, China, and now the US under Donald Trump are all doing. The only question left is whether here in Australia we have the good sense to accept that reality now, or whether we're going to have to suffer for a few more decades in this net zero nonsense before we finally say NYET ZERO and learn our lesson. Now, if you'd like to get a NYET ZERO t-shirt or hoodie and support my work at the same time, head over to www.goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. That's where you'll find my books, Good People Break Bad Laws, my second book, Good Christians Break Bad Laws. You'll find all my different t-shirt designs, including Good People Break Bad Laws, and hoodie designs, including NYET ZERO, and so much more. Plus, you'll find DVDs of my award-winning documentary, Battleground Melbourne. You can also watch that for free, by the way, by going to battlegroundmelbourne.com. I had the privilege of directing that documentary and telling that story, but I didn't write that story. The story of Battleground Melbourne was written by the courageous people of Victoria and Melbourne and what they did during the COVID lockdowns. So, I made the promise to them that if they helped me make the documentary, then I would make sure that it would remain available online for free for as long as I was able to do it. So, head over to battlegroundmelbourne.com and you can watch it for free. It's won 14 awards around the world. It is a high quality, feature length documentary, and I promise you, you will learn things when you watch it. My name is Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and if you like what I do, leave me a like, a follow, maybe a comment. Follow me on all of the socials via @TopherField, and I'll see you in the next one.